kind of funny you said that because over in Russia, they made their own superheroes to compete with like Superman. They're like Super Russia or something like that.
They'd be more of a competitor to Captain America.
Yeah, but they literally like made up their own superheroes. Or all right, we're gonna beat up Superman by creating this guy. If you can have any superpower, CRollur, what would it be?
I'm not sure. I guess probably super strength or something.
Well, super strength causes super slowness, so
not always. Sometimes it creates a fatigue issue.
Well, you got to level up your stamina then, huh?
What about you?
I wouldn't mind having manipulation. You can use the power of your mind to get people to do whatever you want.
Yeah, mine. I would just like to have the power to like move metal around.
Oh, like Magneto.
But better.
But better.
But better.
So not just iron.
Yeah, there's like iron, tin, aluminum.
All right. Well, I guess we'll take that into mind while we discuss comics.
All right. Welcome to the CRollur and Willy podcast.
I'm CRollur.
And I'm Willy.
And this is
Rich. But I'm not.
Thank you for watching. So you're a comic book reader. I'm not necessarily that much into comic books, although I like the heroes from them.
Right.
I just haven't really read any of the comic books.
I like the drawings. I just don't read them.
So explain to me more about comic books.
Well, when I started out collecting comic books, I started out at probably about 7 years old, 8 years old. And by the time I quit collecting, I was like 18 years old. But I still read them off and on. I got a Foot Locker from my brother, who was in the military at the time. And I had this Foot Locker full of comics. And most of them were Marvel. I collected a lot of Marvel.
So you're a Marvel fan?
Yeah. And a few DC. I had a few DCs.
Have you ever read a comic book before?
I read a Deadpool one once. It's also the one I gave my sister because she likes Deadpool.
He actually had a comic?
Yeah. There's a comic book shop in Fremont.
Yeah, that's been around for a long time. I mean, it was around when I know when I was probably about 16 or 17.
It's what's nice is
it's down there on State Street, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, they brought all these like with the movies and everything though. They brought all these like heroes I never even heard of. Like I never even heard of Ant-Man. I never heard of like Deadpool. Never heard of the Wasp or whatever, the sidekick of Ant-Man. Never heard of like.
Well, when I was growing up, Ant-Man was actually a popular comic. Ant-Man was.
Did you even know? Oh, CRollur, did you even know about Ant-Man until the movie came out?
No, I didn't. So
it's like only the older generation wouldn't even know about a lot of these different heroes.
Well, I mean, it's not just the older generations. It's probably people that are more into comic books.
Right.
But I think a lot of people just didn't know about it up until they came out in the movies, I was aware of some of them from just knowing people who read the comics, but it wasn't until the movies came out that I learned about anything. It wasn't like the major, like X-Men, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman,
The Wonder Twins. Was that even a Marvel or DC?
I can't remember. I remember it used to be a comic that was on TV.
Oh.
I don't know. But anyways, I got one for you guys. DC had Aquaman. Do you know what the version of Marvel's is?
No.
His name was Submariner.
Oh, I heard of that name before. I just can't picture him.
I saw a shirt, a Submariner shirt that was being sold at Kohl's. And I almost bought it. I wished I would have bought it. Oh,
you should have bought it.
It had really good graphics.
Oh, no. It was like the comic book, like.
It had really good I actually, I was sitting there thinking about it, people probably don't know who this character is.
It would probably start up conversations that at Comic-Con or something. I've worn shirts to an anime convention from a place I bought, and they have original characters. People ask me all the time, what anime is this from? So I imagine if you wore that shirt, somewhere they might actually ask you, what comic book is this from?
But yeah, I mean, it was awesome. They had quite a few of them, that you can order online. That I thought so hard. I'm thinking about buying one.
It's funny because like you can go up to someone and be like, "Hey, who wrote the Spawn comic books?" And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, we don't know. We don't know if it's Marvel or DC." It's not. Then a lot of people will be like, "Oh, it was Dark Horse." No, it's actually a guy with the last name McFarlane that actually wrote the comic.
Did you guys ever watch The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the one where they use I don't want to be Aquaman?
Oh. Aquaman's the most overpowered DC character.
They make so much fun of. I'm not an Aquaman fan, but I always had to laugh at The Big Bang because they had the original how he looks. Not like he does.
Okay, I got
not like he looks today, but back then, he's sitting there on a seahorse walking.
That's what I like about Aquaman. He's like the Hawk version of DC. If you piss him off, he'll fuck you up.
He also can call a bunch of sea creatures.
Yeah.
Imagine having like a 2,000-pound megalodon, fucking, like laying on top of your head.
They did one on Family Guy about Aquaman and Submariner, and
no one got the Submariner one.
They had Aquaman. And Submariner shows up, and they go, "Well, who are you?"
Yeah, I didn't get that joke, actually. I was like, okay, it looks like some guy in like one of the deep sea,
Yes. I had to laugh about it. And back in when I was probably about 10 or so, they had Marvel had some comics that was on TV. You could watch on TV. You could watch the Hulk, Submariner, and all these different characters, that Marvel had out at the time, because Marvel, mostly all of Marvel's big cartoons they had was always Spider-Man, Fantastic Four when I was growing. So when you went to the other channels that, they would show like a local program, Bozo the Clown or whatever, they would show these short clips. They'd be
no shit.
Yeah, they'd be about maybe about 5 minutes or so.
It's kind of funny you said that because they used to make these this gum called Bazooka. They'll have these like short little comics inside the wrapper.
Sounds interesting because I know there's like a lot of Spider-Man animations and like the Amazing Spider-Man, but I also know I watched this animated Iron Man thing back in the day. It was interesting. Not what I was expecting after having watched the MCU Iron Man.
Yeah, that was another thing. They had that he was it was a short clip with Iron Man and stuff. And these characters weren't big known like DC had at the time. DC had Superman and Batman. These were these comics were selling off the. If you didn't get to the comic store and bought this, the new edition, yeah, they would be sold out.
Do you feel like during the time when you were, reading comic books back in the 60s, do you think it was bigger then than it is now, or?
I would say the comic books, the sale of comic books was because, today you have
TV.
You have TV, you have
internet.
Everything. I mean, you got to realize that when I was growing up, we drank from the water hose outside because we weren't allowed to come in the house and play. And, and I was seeing on TikTok where a guy says, I got a question. Didn't you guys have sinks back in your days? He didn't get it. He didn't get what the comment was because we weren't allowed inside the house. And if you remember when you was growing up, how often were you in the house?
Not very long.
We ran you out of the house.
Like you grab
I had a bit of both. I was encouraged to go outside and play, but I also had video games that I could play. As long as I wasn't making a ruckus, I was fine. To go back on this, I think that a lot of it does have to do with the increase of TV and movies and stuff like that. Comic books shifting to that. But I also know they digitized a lot of the comic books.
Right. But don't you think also now, maybe this might, it gives you something to think about. Don't you think anime took the place of comic books?
Oh, that's what I was talking to CRollur about last week.
I don't know if it took over completely, but it definitely is a bigger market, and it's sharing a market space because like the manga market is pretty big, and anime comes from that.
Right. But I'm just saying because I know Matt. He buys those manga books. You know, like and they're that. I mean, they're not colored; they're just penciled, and
Yeah,
I mean, I've looked at them. I mean,
my sister used to actually color them in for herself.
really.
Yeah,
But I mean, I've looked at them, and and I got to admit, I am more into anime today than what I am into,
Comics anymore.
comics and that.
so yeah, there's a shift, but comics are still pretty big.
Right,
They're big enough that the comic book shops haven't shut down completely.
right.
There may be less of them, but they're still around.
I think the reason why mangas are getting a lot more people's attention is because the storylines, that they
That's what
have.
I say.
Yeah, it's more.
I like the storylines a lot more in the mangas.
I mean, look at One Punch Man. He's a superhero, but he's
Yeah.
still, it's still fun to read those, mangas.
Well, like the latest, I would say, anime that I watched was Skeleton Knight. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
Not that one. I've been going back and forth between a couple of them, but I'm still trying to get through My Hero Academia because I got a late start on that one.
oh yeah,
I got the T-shirt, but I don't watch it.
You really should. It's a pretty good anime.
I can't get past episode
Hero
2.
Academia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I kind of lost interest in it. I was watching it for a while. Then what gets me is when they take it, like after so many episodes, they stop. You have to wait for the new episodes to come out. It's just like everything. Then I get my attention drawn to somewhere else where I've been watching. But going back to comic books and that, I do feel that there's still a market out there for them, but I think it's more movies now than anything.
Yeah, it is.
The good thing is there are decades and decades of stories for the movies to
Right.
draw inspiration from.
Right.
How come every freaking Marvel character somehow got radioactive powers? Like Spider-Man, bit by spider. Fantastic Four, radiation from like some stupid sun or something
Yeah.
bullshit.
If you're gonna go on this, let me ask you, what radiation does Iron Man have?
Oh, he has that little radiation core in his chest.
That's not radiation.
Okay, he had put one of those like clear things in his chest.
I mean, that definitely. I mean, it could cause radiation, but that's not.
It's lithium.
That's not to make his power.
Lithium
But it's not
batteries are
making his
radiation.
It's just
so
keep his heart beating.
Yeah, but
imagine if that battery busted. He's gonna be like poisoned with radiation, and he's gonna end up with more superpowers.
to counter that point, since you did point out one type of radiation, even though it's not what causes powers, what about Thor? He's just a god.
With a giant hammer.
Yeah.
But
Hawk can pick it up.
Who?
Hawk. He did in the comic books, but only the Hawk can pick it up. But he had to be like super, super pissed off to pick that fucker up. So apparently, Hawk has
if you in the movies and that what's his name, Captain America can pick it up.
what?
Yeah,
I didn't see that. When did that happen?
I can't remember.
I thought he just nudged it.
He nudged it. He pushed it like a couple inches.
More like grabbed it.
But it is like he said. It's like if you don't get radiation, you're a god. I mean, Loki, he's a god.
Loki is probably one of my favorite characters from the MCU.
All right, is he like an anti-hero or what is he? Is he a good guy, bad guy?
He's Loki.
I do think he's kind of an anti-hero because he basically does what he wants, but he's heroic on occasion.
If you look at the gods from the north, what is Loki? Loki is, the underworld, god of the underworld. Am I right?
I'm not entirely sure on that.
I don't know.
I know I did do I did do a little mythology, but
Right.
a lot of that mythology ended up going around Thor and his father.
Right.
It didn't follow Loki that much. Loki made a couple of appearances in the actual book I was reading about it.
Right.
He just shows up when he feels like it.
So, well, I'm just saying, he's supposed to be, I don't know, sort of like he's a manipulator.
And that's the power you wanted.
Yeah.
So you can be like, I'll be a bad guy for now, but this will be good later on.
No, you sit there and go into the store and say, give me $20 extra.
That is disgusting in a bit. How much you could abuse that power.
Oh, yeah, you could really.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Call up the electric company and say, my bill has been paid.
Oh, that is smart.
Yeah.
Nate was like, I want super strength so I can win a weightlifting contest.
If you're gonna be a hero, strength is pretty good. If you're gonna be a villain, manipulation is damn good.
But you always need a villain, though.
Yeah.
You always need that one villain to make you work harder for your.
The most popular books when I was young, that was coming out was Spider-Man, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. Those were the flagships of Marvel. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're with the flagships and everything that they had. Of course, that they try and come up, like I was telling you, like with Aquaman. He was kind of popular with DC, so Marvel comes out with Submariner. To counteract that.
Yeah, I think a lot of Marvel characters, a lot of DC characters are like reflections of each other.
Sure.
But I feel like there are certain ones that stand out on each side. Then there's some that you could see both sides of the thing where they were still popular regardless.
Right.
Because obviously Aquaman went out on DC's side because very, very few people know who Mariner is.
Right. There was no money in it. That's why they kind of wrote him off.
Right. I mean, they did that with the Fantastic Four. They were popular at first, and they kind of, when they made the movie.
It was a popular, back in the day, but, I don't think that as time went on, people related to them.
Why read the Fantastic Four if you can read the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. series, right?
Right. Well, I think one of the things with the Fantastic Four was, I think the movies were crap.
Yeah, that killed it.
I mean,
But then they try to like rebuttal it by bringing the Silver Surfer in. Like, oh, this will be awesome.
Look how many times Spider-Man's been remade.
Yeah, but Spider-Man, I feel like Spider-Man was a good series though. The Amazing Spider-Man comic book series. It's full of good stuff.
Right.
And then the movies were based off all of that. I think the movies were good. I think the problem with the movies is they keep trying to go over the same period of time with the same exact history. Like Peter Parker as Spider-Man. There have been multiple Spider-Mans.
I mean, DC is trying to copy off of Marvel right now because they're bringing this movie that has all the Batmans in a multiverse because Marvel already did it. Now they're like, oh, we're going to bring, what's his name, the first Batman guy. I can't remember his name. Michael Keaton or whatever. And then they're bringing Ben Affleck. Then they're bringing...
Are they really?
Yeah. There's a trailer out for it. There's a trailer out for it right now.
Oh, shoot. I'm going to have to look that up.
I like the Batman series with Michael Keaton.
Yo, that was good because it was a dark, kind of dark.
And I also like the guy that played as Joker in it.
Oh, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. I mean, he was probably one of my, besides the other, the one that died, the one that played Joker that died, but I thought those two were my favorite.
Well, did you watch that Joker movie with Jacqueline Phoenix?
What was that guy's name that passed away?
Who's in The Patriot? He played Mel Gibson's son.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
But yeah, he was one of my favorites. He was
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger.
I thought he played very good
Yeah, but did you
Joker.
watch that Joker movie with Jacqueline Phoenix?
I didn't care for it.
You didn't like it?
No, I was.
I think they tried to modernize Joker, and I don't think it went over that well from comic book fanboys that are used to.
They kind of took like a.
They're used to the traditional Joker, and they try to modernize it and twist it into something that would relate to a modern audience, not realize their main audience
Right.
is the comic book fans.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like Ben Affleck.
See, that's the thing. I like the movie because
he played Daredevil, right?
who did?
Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah.
And I just think that when it comes to Daredevil, they just don't know how to make a movie for him.
They tried a TV show at one point.
And it didn't work out. I watched them.
The Flash TV show didn't do too well. I mean, it did good at first, but then they started losing audiences. Now they're making a Flash movie.
Yeah,
I was into the Flash TV show, but then I don't know. I guess I kind of got bored of it.
Well, when all else fails, what you do is you make a movie, then you add like 5 other superheroes into that movie.
Well, they did try to do a crossover.
Well, they got a Flash movie coming out this summer, and they're going to bring in like a woman Superman because it's an alternate universe, and all this
It's
stuff.
not Superwoman.
It's probably Superwoman, but
because that is a thing that already happened. That's already considered.
and they're going to have Crypto in it, aren't they? The dog Crypto.
Yeah, but they fucked up the timeline, so now it's like the first Batman or first Superman movie where that guy that what's his name, the general guy or whatever, he's back in it again, and it's ridiculous because they're trying to like bring in audience, comic book audiences back in by completely fucking the storyline up.
I mean, I don't know the DC comics very well, but they could have had alternate timelines in the comic books too.
Well, they're always late. They always wait to see what happens with Marvel, the movies, and then they try it, like 2 years later.
When Disney bought them, took over, a lot of things got cut. They started making them. That's why there's been such a big wait in seeing, Guardians of the Galaxy and some of these others.
Speaking of that one, what do you think of the new movie? There's a controversy around the rating and a trigger warning, which I get that a trigger warning on a movie it's a little unheard of, but at the same time, I don't see it as a big issue. But for being PG-13, most kids aren't watching it, shouldn't be watching it.
So I didn't get the chance to watch it because I went to the movie theater. I'm like, oh, I really want to watch this. And my wife was like, no, we're watching Evil Dead. So I didn't get to watch it.
Now, I watched it.
How was it?
I liked it. But I'm going to tell you right now, I would like to see, at the end, they show a new group of Guardians of the Galaxy. I would like to see them. I'd like to see them make a movie with those guys. What it is, it's Rocket. I can't think of all the people are in there. That dog that went up, the Russians sent up.
Oh,
he's one of them.
Oh my God.
I think this would be so cool if they would do a make with those.
It'd be like
characters.
Deadpool's.
Instead of rehashing more of the Guardians of the Galaxy based on the characters that were already there, make a new movie with the new characters.
Yeah,
they're like the secondary force.
I mean, that's an interesting take, and I think
because Groot's in it.
Oh, okay.
He's in it. Groot and Rocket, and I think
it'll be a good spinoff. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think it would be. It could be a really good, fun movie to go to.
I personally think they should do more like newer characters or different characters that aren't based around already
Stardust and all that.
Like they're not based around already existing movies or publications or
as kind of like branching off, and
right.
like, adding more audiences.
I just think that if they would take those characters, because remember the one guy that had he'd whistle in the air.
Oh yeah, I like that guy.
Well, the guy that took over his job, his character, he was in that, and I was thinking, man, that would be a pretty good, if the person did it right, it could be a real good movie, you know.
Since the camera's cut off when you were talking about the whole Cold War era when you're reading comics, I wanted to hear your story on that one. If you want to talk about it,
I think the biggest thing is with the atomic age growing up. Like we had said that we were in what they called duck and cover era,
under the desk for bombs and atomic bombs and such,
flash and bang. But I mean, you think. You take this where kids are in school, kindergarten. Well, when I was going to school, some schools had kindergarten, some didn't. But to start teaching these kids about the atomic, you're going to scare them. And look at all the movies that came out that at that time. The Swamp Man, all these different characters that had something to do with radiation.
And that's what tied into superheroes.
Yeah.
I talked about that earlier.
I feel like comic books have also hit that trend too.
Oh, yeah.
I also feel like they were definitely affected around the time of the World Wars. Because I know a lot of comics were hitting Hitler and the Nazis and stuff like that, where different superheroes were attacking them.
Kind of funny you said. It's kind of funny It's kind of funny you said that because over in Russia they made their own superheroes to compete with like Superman. They're like Super Russia or something like that.
That'd be more of a competitor to Captain America.
Yeah, but they literally like made up their own superheroes. Or all right, we're gonna beat up Superman by creating this guy, but they never ever fight.
Well, and the thing about it is, when I was in the military, there was they would do this thing they would talk about these here guys that went to Korea and they left South Korea to North Korea. They escaped to North Korea because they didn't want to be in the military anymore. Yeah. And, and they tell stories about that, where, the guy is in a glass case, with the letter they signed that denouncing the United States. I would hear, stories about this, So, I mean, there's always been that thing about, about how bad, communism is compared to the United States, our freedom we have here, which is true. I mean, you go out and protest, you don't have to worry about being thrown in prison.
Right.
Stuff like that. We have a lot more freedom, but I know that a lot of the rumors that we heard and seen that went into the comic books to promote, America.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, the X-Men, they made America look bad by, people trying to kill the mutants off.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I think that is just a general state of humanity at that point, because people feared the unknown,
Oh, yeah.
So if there was people with powers that came from mutations, people would be afraid.
I mean, if I know I can get superpowers by eating like some like nuclear waste, I would do it right now.
That's not the same as people that just are born with different genetics that cause superpowers.
And that's what Deadpool did. They were injecting people with X-Men DNA, causing them to evolve. Into.
Speaking of that, it turns out he was already a mutant. His mutation was a super virus or super cancer, and they gave him super healing. So his superpower being a super cancer that's killing him, then giving him the super healing, counteracting that.
That would be a shitty power.
That's why he's all fucked up.
That would be a shit. Yeah. Because can you imagine getting your head cut off and then your head started growing back and it's like a fucking bobblehead? No, fuck that. That's a shitty power.
Well, look at Wolverine.
He's got super healing and claws.
Yeah, because they injected Wolverine's DNA in him, didn't they?
Yeah.
You read X-Men comics when you were younger?
Yeah, I used to read them.
what I don't like about X-Men, there's so many of them.
Right.
So you can't keep track of who's who. You know, you're like Wolverine. You got that Cyclops dude. You got some woman that can slap your face and kill you in
gotta
a heartbeat.
remember when I started reading them, you didn't have all these extra. You know, you had Cyclops. You had
Storm.
Storm.
Yeah, Storm.
You had Storm, Wolverine. You know.
See, like Storm was very underpowered because like a lot of people was like, oh, you can make it, you know, rain and thunder, but no, she can actually make like hurricanes. She can do like tornadoes. She can do like all kinds of shit.
Speaking of that, you know Magneto? We talked about him in the last podcast.
Right.
Somebody was like, Magneto can't possibly be right because he wanted to kill humanity. And actually, no, he didn't. He wanted to take over humanity, not kill it, not destroy it.
Oh, that was a comment, wasn't it?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is there's also been storylines of the comics and stuff where he actually took over the X-Men because Xavier died. So yeah, like I just wanted to address it. Like he was a bad guy, but that was the point of the podcast, was that he was a bad guy, but had a point. He stood for the right to be a mutant. Maybe he went too far by wanting to be on top and see mutants as the superior. But at the same time, humanity also was afraid of them and wanted to destroy them.
How come they weren't afraid of like the Fantastic Four, or you know? They won't wait. No, they thought them as heroes for going out in space.
That I'm not entirely sure, but it's also a different storyline.
Yeah, it's way different.
I thought they always tied together in some way.
No. Well, they all of Marvel ties into somewhere.
They do that a lot where they cross different storylines.
Yeah.
I don't think they explain exactly how people react differently. I feel like the closest I've personally seen to it was when the Civil War movie came out, or Avengers, because the Captain America Civil War movie, they basically were like, okay, superheroes are great at a certain point, but you also could be dangerous as hell. So we need a legal system to bind you guys and stop you from being terrible.
You know what both groups fucked up in on that movie Civil War? They did not, none of the groups brought in the X-Men. If one of the groups would have got the X-Men involved, the other group would have got fucked up.
Well, you know, what's really funny about it is, you know, Spider-Man had worked with this Fantastic Four.
And he worked with the X-Men before.
You know, but he was more associated with the X-Men.
Yeah.
Than he was, you know, but he worked with the Fantastic Four.
He worked with everyone. He worked with Iron Man. He worked with the Hulk. He worked with everyone. Even though the Hulk will fuck him up, but, you know.
And that was another one. You know, the Fantastic Four worked with the Hulk. The Hulk was in a lot of...
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. A lot of the comic books, the early comic books and that, the Hulk was in, you know, him and Thing had a rivalry.
Which one's Thing?
Yeah,
okay.
You know,
I can imagine
them two fight.
Yeah.
You got some brick wall finding a giant muscular fucking green thing.
But yeah, I mean, they had tried to hunt the Hawk down. There's all kinds of stuff, you know, about
all kinds of stories
about the Fantastic Four and the Hawk.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. It's just the movies that really fucked the Fantastic Four up.
The MCU doesn't include X-Men or the Fantastic Four, from what I can tell.
I was hoping that it would be in the Civil War. You know,
I'm actually surprised they didn't bring the freaking Silver Surfer into the Avengers movies.
They did have Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Oh, Scarlet, okay.
Which are from other storylines.
There was like many things.
They kind of fought the X-Men.
There's many things
they were part of Magneto.
Yeah.
There's many things that they in the movies that they could have took down Thanos. Like Silver Surfer could have showed up, did a kickflip and hit that fucking guy in the head or something, you know, take Thanos out. Like, why was Thanos so powerful? Like, I think like there's other heroes that could have took him out. Like, yeah, Captain Marvel, yeah, Silver Surfer, yeah. The Hulk could not do nothing on him. But I guaranteed if you tie the Hawk up and you whip him a couple times in the back and piss him off enough, you probably could.
Well, just think if you had the Hawk and you had the Thing beating on Thanos, you know, why didn't you have that?
Yeah.
Right. You know, two of the biggest, heavyweights. Why didn't you have them beating him up?
I think they made Thanos like overpowered in the movies too.
I'm going to tell you, I like the movies. I really did.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there's certain things I wish that they could have done.
Yeah, I
more
think
with
they
it.
could have brought in the Fantastic Four. You know, I think they could have, because I thought they would actually bring them in.
Can you imagine that Stretch Armstrong guy? What's his name? On the Fantastic Four, I just call him Stretch Armstrong guy.
Reese Richards.
Yeah, can you imagine if he wrapped himself around like Thanos and like tying him up? And I think the Fantastic Four could have took him out.
Maybe. We'll never know.
We'll never know because it never like completed the movie.
Flame on.
And then the Flame On guy can like drop a bunch of oil on the Stretch Arm guy and like catch that oil on fire with his Human Torch body or whatever. And the Invisible Woman could have snuck up behind him and like donkey punched him or something.
It's funny though. I mean, it still came out good and everything, but I think they could have added these other,
Are you? You already watched that Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't wait to watch that.
You'll like it.
What do you think about that Batman movie, though? Do you think it looks really good?
I'm going to go to it. I've got plans already. When it comes out, I'm going.
Is it because of Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna finish the episode right here.
I definitely feel like we've touched upon a lot of comics, a lot of comic book made movies, and a lot of Marvel stuff. Some DC. But thank you guys for watching the podcast. I'm CRollur.
And I'm Willy.
I'm Richard.
See you guys later.
Peace.
When they talk about the Howling Commandos, it used to be Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's Agent Carter and the Howling Commandos.